All right, well, as Claudio mentioned, my name is Peter. I'm the global head of product at Fantasy. This is some of what we do. Bass. Come on. Well, it's great to see you, Amsterdam. How are you all doing? All right, well, today we are going to start with a bit of an experiment. So are you guys ready? I want you to take out your mobile phones like this. Take out your mobile phones. What's he up to? I want you to hold them up in the air. Okay, very good, very, very good. Now I want you to swap it with the person next to you. Give it to the person next to you, and when you have their phone, put it in your pocket. Who's feeling weird right now? Who's feeling uncomfortable? Who was doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and now their neighbor has their phone? That guy was, yes. Unbelievable. Okay, guys, thank you for indulging me. You may now give back your neighbor's phone. You may breathe a sigh of relief. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Well, why is that so disconcerting? We all know why. This is the premise of the talk that I'm going to give you today, because we all know why this is so horrible, because these things have become an extension of us. We're going to have more skin-to-skin contact with these devices than you will with your loved ones. That is unbelievable. You're going to spend, in fact, 41% of your life in front of a screen. That is 8,000 days. That is 21 years of your life is going to be spent in front of a screen. 21 years ago. That was when Will Smith was popular. 21 years ago. Unbelievable. So therefore, what we are doing is just so important, because we as designers, developers, engineers, agencies, the fantastic minds in this room are creating the things that people are going to use for 21 years of their life. We get to create these experiences that are used by millions of people every single day. And I really want to hone in on that word experiences, because it's important to understand what we mean by that. In the real world, we totally understand what that means, right? It is those special magical moments in our life. It's the things that we think back on, the things that captivate us, the things that make up our memories, and it's the things that really connect with us at a human level. It is the first time that you meet your son, daughter, your child. My son, he's 6 months old, is right up there. Like that moment, that was an experience. Or being lost in nature, or having a deep moment of connection with another human being. These are all experiences. And so as user experience designers, experience practitioners, it's an amazing privilege we have, because we get to create these experiences that people are going to use that really connect with them at that human level. But the problem that we have is that so much of what is being produced today isn't about us being user experience designers. It's about us being user transaction designers. If we take a step back just for a second and look at what people are interacting with for these 21 years of their life, so much of it is about this quick exchange of information. It is like we're robots, data in, data out, and it's like this soulless exchange is taking place. And I think we believe, and these are fantastic terms, they're amazing terms, but so misunderstood. Who's heard of sprint and MVP? Yeah, everybody in the room, right? But these terms are so misunderstood. And when they are, we lead down to this natural progression. We end up in a spot where we have these things called wireframing kits. Wireframing kits. Wireframe 10 times faster than you have ever been able to wireframe before. And as designers, we are just reusing and reusing and reusing components, while the people, users, humans that we're designing for are getting further and further and further away. And for us as designers, that's a real problem. Because the reason is, some things are problematic in the sense that Machine learning is a whole lot better at that than we are. And that is truly when we will be replaced by AI, is when we stop using our agency and recycle components like this all of the time. And so these terms are fantastic, but misunderstood, and I think kind of taking it back to this idea of being a user experience designer. This is the privilege, the opportunity that we have to fill these 21 years of people's life with incredible things that really connect with them at a human level, in their soul. We have the opportunity to create magic. And that's what we try to do at Fantasy with the products and services that we create for amazing companies all around the world, is to think about things in terms of the full human being. We call it designing for full human beings. Another word for this is just human-centered design. But unfortunately, in our industry today, human-centered design has become so base and so kind of watered down to just meaning user testing that we really want to elevate it right back up there to say humans. Human beings in all of their complexity and emotion and rationality and function and form and all of these things. This is who we should be designing for, because when you do think about the full human being, it's incredibly, incredibly successful. And I only have 25 minutes here today, and so I'm going to try and rattle through as many case studies as I possibly can, just to show you some of that work, just to show you, and hopefully give you guys really practical things, honestly, tips, tricks, things that you can come away from here with that might impact your Monday morning when you're back in your offices, if that sounds good to you guys. So let's do this. It might be worth getting to know me a little bit better. Peter Smart, that is my real name. It's cool now. Wasn't so cool when I was a kid. Kids are mean. It was Smarty Pants, Smart Ass, Smarty Farty was a personal favorite. And yeah, as I said, I'm the global head of product at Fantasy. I'm going to be around over the next couple of days. I love meeting you guys at conferences like this. It is so inspiring to come and see all of the fantastic work that you guys are doing and hear from you guys too. So please come say hi. You can also just chat me on whatever social media we're using these days, I don't even know. Some fun facts about me: when I'm not speaking and kind of leading the company, I am on adventures. So recently, this is a couple of months ago, I marooned myself on a deserted island, population 0, apart from hundreds of pythons and a small population of Komodo dragons. True story. We can chat about that one later. But here we go, diving back into it. We're going to look at a case study together, and then we're going to try and look at some learnings, if that sounds good to you guys. Yeah? Yep. All right, let's do it. Okay, so this is Royal Caribbean. Who's here has heard of Royal Caribbean? Yeah, they're a cruise. A few of you. Okay, fantastic. They're a cruise company. They're a massive, massive cruise company. They ship millions of people around the world every single year on 55, I think it is, ships globally. And to give you a small sense of just what it means to be on a cruise, take a look at this. Okay, so that's Royal Caribbean. And who's been on a cruise before? Yeah, there you go, quite a few of you. Okay, fantastic. Well, Royal Caribbean, as I mentioned, they're a big, big, big company. They have actually 3 companies beneath them: Royal Caribbean Cruises, Azamara Cruises, and Celebrity Cruises. And they have these ships that are transporting tens of thousands of people at a time around incredible destinations around the world. And these things, if you've never been on a cruise before, are like floating malls, hotel, casinos. Like, they're just enormous. And so we've worked with them now for the last 2 years. In that time, we've shipped about 14, actually over now, 14 products with them in that time. So an incredible velocity working with them. And it's been everything from in-stateroom automation, connected displays, stateroom TVs, frictionless arrival. We even made something recently. You guys have Uber here. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a thing called Uber for mojitos, where you press the button and someone would bring you a mojito right here, right now? We made that for them very recently. It's incredible. You can just press glass of wine and someone will just bring you a glass of wine because they know where you are. It's amazing. I want that for my day-to-day life. It's amazing. But we've done so many different things with them. And I want to focus on just one of those for the time we have today, just one of those, which is the application. And to give you a sense of what the role of the app is, aboard these ships, there are hundreds and hundreds of activities, restaurants, bars, shore excursions, things that you can engage in. And then crucially, you're surrounded by tens of thousands of other people at the same time, all trying to do the same things that you are. And so understanding what's going on, where you are, where your family are, what's going on around you, what's happening next is so, so important. And so that's the role of the application. It's the tool that should help you maximize your experience aboard the ship when you are there. And so therefore, this is what we made. No, this is not what we made. This was this is what we made. It was the legacy application that we inherited. Yes, the legacy application that we inherited, and we worked with them over a period of 6 months down in the port in Miami for the first release. So we're still working on iterative releases with them right now, but the first release, and this is what we then actually shipped, this is what's in market today. This is the brand new Royal Caribbean Cruise application, and we built this from the ground up. It's built out in 3D. You're seeing the context of where you are in the world, what's going on around you. Crucially, you're seeing what the activities are that you can do, and importantly, the context where you are. We're seeing the live positioning of the ship. You're seeing the live time of day, the live weather as well. So we're going through different states, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. And then, crucially, we're then working with content. We are putting together incredible experiences to allow you to explore and discover all that's happening around you on the ship. So I'm going to get into that more in just a second, but really I want to talk really practically with you guys now and talk about getting there, because it's one thing to show the stuff at the end, but let's talk about how on earth you get through to something like that. So at Fantasy, we always start with experience principles. These are the things where you might have kind of business goals, user goals. Experientially, we want to have principles too. As experienced designers, we want to hold true to some things that are going to be unbreakable, unshakable throughout this entire project. The first, for us on this particular engagement, was that context is everything. That makes sense. You have to understand what's going on, where you are. You're on the 24th floor of a massive ship, and there's hundreds of people all around you. What can you do? What's happening? Context is everything. The second here is a direct quote from our partner on the first meeting that I had with them, which was, "Show us a hamburger menu and you are fired." That is I don't know why you guys are laughing. At the time, I was terrified, but this is genuinely a direct quote from them at the time. But we loved it because these are the sorts of partners that are so aspirational that we love working with, and they're so, so correct too, because if we're creating an experience here that is meant to feel premium, engaging, enticing, desirable, there is no way that we should be getting people to go through hamburger menus of files and folders and structures and filters and sorts, and all that BS. That would have been completely the wrong thing for us to do. The final principle here, so we had to support different decision-making moments. And there's really two modalities that we're thinking about. The first is that you might be at home, you might be planning your cruise from the comfort of your armchair. We want to allow you to see what you can do and start planning ahead for you and the people that you're going to go with. The second modality is actually in that moment, you've just woken up and the kids are awake, or you're at the pool and you've got half an hour to spare, understanding in those snap decision moments what is happening around you right now that you can actually start to engage with. And then as Fantasy, we also like to kind of hold ourselves to aspirational ideals too. And these ones are private. These are ones that we just have as a team. And for us, we often say 7 out of 10 is a failure, or you're 30% wrong. And that's not because we're dogmatic in the sense that we are perfectionists, but we truly want to create industry-defining products and services, not only for a particular company, but for an industry, for the world, to help elevate the role of design and designers in creating experiences that truly connect with human beings. So let's get into the design process, because we start with things like this. Who has anxiety when they see something like this? Anyone know what these are? These are user stories. Who has anxiety looking at, we had tabs and tabs and tabs of these things. Oh my goodness, and there's this tendency always to begin with, you just want to jump in there and start designing because the engineers are just 2 weeks behind you and you've just got to get going. Who can empathize with that feeling, right? Yes, I can see the terrified faces in the room. And it's so important, I think, that we always stop ourselves from doing that. And in fact, we always start with this thing called framework. So framework, being more than just an information architecture, framework is thinking about an experience as a physical experience. It's about thinking in terms of canvases, places that you're going to take a user. It's not information architecture and like kind of diagrammatic. It's you're holding the experience in your hand and you're trying to feel it out. Because so much of what we're doing here isn't about creating screens anymore. I mean, it's not the 90s. We don't think in templates and screens. We're creating experiences that we're transporting people through. And so a framework allows you to start to plan that out and work out how you're going to transport people from A to B without them even feeling like they're having to reload a page or go to a new template. The second thing we do from that framework diagram is we create prototypes. Very, very quickly, we want to feel this out, see how it feels. These are things, I promise you guys, there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm embarrassed to show you guys in here, but it's the sausage in the making, as we say. But I really wanted to show you the process. This is stuff that I made in principle just to start feeling out that framework, to start kind of holding it in my hand and start to play and experiment with those. And then what we're doing all the time is scrappy experiments. It's not this kind of waterfall process of wireframes and then visual design and some interaction design at the very end. Like, we are trying to communicate a vision. And again, super embarrassing to show you guys, but it's so crucial because you can start to see how some of that concept and that vision starts to come together. It starts with scrappy experiments like this that communicate an idea. They get people excited about it. They can visualize it with you and they buy in. That's the most important thing that I can kind of communicate at this point. And the final thing that we're doing super early on in this process is we're working with motion. Most of the time, I think motion is just kind of held to the very end of a project, and it's about the little finesse of interaction design on a button. Again, like, motion is core to everything that we should be doing as designers, as developers, because it's 2019. Like, we can take people amazing places and transport them, and motion is so, so good for that. And so we're doing motion studies very, very quickly. Again, rough and ready, but that's how we're starting off, to try and build a canvas and a vision of what it is that we're going to create together. Who's done user testing in the room? Yeah? Fantastic. Most of us. Amazing. You're never going to meet more motivated testers than cruisers, because in exchange for their time, we would give them free drinks coupons for the bar. Amazing. We were really lucky in the sense that the office was actually on the port down in Miami. And so we were able to be there as people were getting on and off the ship to test this with them regularly, to iterate with them and to co-create with our users rather than being in isolation. We then built out this design system. I mentioned it's spread across, actually it's now over 14 different products with them. This is constantly breaking. We're reshaping it. We're refactoring it. We're writing new rules. This is an evolving document that we're producing all the time to keep all of our teams, the engineering team, everybody tightly together in terms of the system that we're building here. And then we're evolving and adapting as we go. And so at Fantasy, we have always had the belief that it's not about just having offices and having people sit in those offices, but actually we want to work with the world's best designers, and so we work with designers all around the world. We have our office, our big kind of HQ in San Francisco and New York, another office in London, Miami, but then we have designers in Vietnam and Moscow, Amsterdam, like everywhere. And we seek out those people who are passionate and want to create stuff like this. And so that means that we are doing like calls every day. We're chatting as a global team. It's amazing. You can chat to someone at the end of your day. You wake up in the morning the next day and it's done. You're like, oh my goodness, this is like magic. This is what I was doing every single day, just on video walkthroughs with the guys, like talking through how to evolve and adapt this experience. And this is, of course, the final live result that you've seen. So it's all about that context. It's all about showing you what's going on, where you are, and crucially making this an experience which is worth paying the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars that you have paid to be on this particular ship. Includes stuff like the live sun position, which is super important, because if you're on the 24th floor of a ship, on the bows of this beast, you need to know whether it's the right moment to go outside to hang out in the pool. And so understanding the weather, understanding the time of day, understanding if you're going to get that amazing shot of the sunset right now is a really important part of this experience. We then worked with their content team. They had a phenomenal content team. We worked with them to really define what it would mean to put together content experiences that really communicate the value and really sell these amazing experiences that you can embark on these cruises. You have activities, restaurants, bars, but it's also shore excursions that you're doing at all these destinations. And then we're creating this fluidity. So kind of coming back to this idea of motion. Motion is so integral to everything that we should be thinking about. We talked about performance-driven design. Motion is your friend. We have this concept called ramping. Ramping is this kind of, it's from the gaming industry, where you're effectively stalling a user without them realizing it while you're loading stuff up in the background. A really good example of that is just here. If you look at this example, so in a moment, I'm going to move from Monday to Tuesday, and we'll show you the weather. That originated because the engineering team said to us, look, there's going to be a 1-2 second delay between loading up this content and this content dynamically. There's going to be a load pause. It's going to be a blank screen. And we said, screw that. No way. What can we do to actually not only make that feel nicer for the user, but to give them value, to actually give them something in exchange for that load time? And so we built in this little, very small, low latency weather module that just showed you the current weather, or like the current predicted weather for that particular day, that actually even helped better contextualize what you might want to do on the next day if you could see the weather was going to be cloudy, rainy, sunny, whatever. We turned it into actually a really beneficial thing for the user, but with this ideal that we are never going to have you sit there and feel like you're having to load something. So, going back to this here, this, as I mentioned, they're a big company. They have 3 sub-brands, as Royal Caribbean, Azamara, and Celebrity. So it's a system that works across all of those different ships and different sub-brands. And you can see here the similarities between each of the designs, but what you'll also see is some of the differences in iconographic style, in photography, and even stuff like the color of the water. We take that so seriously because the audiences that we're trying to appeal to, Royal Caribbean, fun, family-friendly, almost Disney-like. Celebrity Cruises, sophisticated. They want to see the real teal of that water. And then we built out all 55 ships in 3D here, 6 months. Unbelievable. Again, we work with incredible people. I feel very privileged to have the team that we do. And you're probably wondering at this point, why on earth would you put in this much effort? And I would just say, have you ever been on a cruise before? Like, these people have just paid loads of money to be there, and they care about this experience that they're having. And so let's make sure that the color of the wood on the ship is the accurate color of that wood, for example. Let's build stuff like the octopus slide on the ship because, hey, understanding where you are is just so important. Let's make sure we do an incredible job of that. Then the expansion of that design system out into the other products that we've made. This is just one of them. This is the stateroom TV. You wake up in the morning, you sit up, your TV's there in front of you, and you're seeing where you're going to be, what's going on, and you can start to engage with all of the content, all the amazing experiences that might be available to you. And you'll have seen this balance between kind of playful, cartoony attributes. Those whales were like half the size of the ship. But if we had got the waves actually kind of around this island wrong, it would have looked cheesy, it would have looked fake. And so we pay a lot of attention to those design details to make sure it looks really, really crisp and premium. And so I'm now going to talk about some learnings really quickly and then kind of come to a conclusion here. The first learning from this particular case study is we just learned how much commitment it takes to follow through on a human-centered vision. It takes commitment from everybody. We know that feeling of you just need to get started to satisfy some business goals, get it out, this MVP, move fast and break things and all that, whatever. Here's the problem, right? When you have this idea of an MVP in your mind, you can absolutely start like this, like something like this on the left-hand side, sure, but it becomes so difficult to sprint and make something like this on the left-hand side. Does that make sense? Like, it becomes incredibly difficult. And so having a vision of what you are creating and being able to communicate that vision and to communicate the value of that is so important from the very earliest stage. The second learning is it pays off when you do that. Learning number 3 is that, there's one thing to kind of design this for Royal Caribbean, for the travel industry, and I think it'd be very easy for us to all think, hey, like that's awesome, but you guys had amazing content to work with. It's B2C. What if you guys were like working with B2B? Like, what if it was for enterprise? What if it was for commercial mortgages? This is something that we built for commercial mortgages. This is a tool here which has completely revolutionized an industry and a business in the commercial mortgage space, because at the end of the day, it's the same human beings that we're designing for who go on cruises, who on Monday morning the following week are coming in to do commercial mortgages. The same human beings, the same physiological and psychological needs. The commercial mortgage industry is incredibly complicated. I'm going to try and distill it down to a sentence, which is it's constant communication, and it's all done on paper today, and everything stalls because architects and lawyers and city governments are all trying to communicate, and it's all in the mail through FedEx. And so we built a system here that just shows you 5 simple things that you have to do that particular day, and you feel like you're accomplishing things and moving that progress forward. It's revolutionized this particular company's business, which is amazing. So I hope you enjoyed the Royal Caribbean case study. I'm now going to go through, just to kind of close here, and try and look at as many case studies as I possibly can in about 30 seconds. All right, so there is just a lot in here. In fact, feel free to come chat with me afterwards. I can show you some more of this work. Let's do it. Okay, learnings. Here we go. Made for human beings, experiences, things that are going to resonate with the human beings who are going to use our products and services for the 21 years of their life. Minimum lovable product. Forget this term MVP. It's a terrible term. MLP. That's how you have to think. Think about what is the minimum lovable thing that you can create, because then you can move from something which at a base level works, and you can elevate it and elevate it and elevate it. Again, back to that diagram. So hard to sprint from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Start with something that at least minimally communicates that vision. Second thing, convention is just permission to do better. We say in the studio, invention over convention. Do you guys understand me? Do you know why that is? Because if that wasn't true, we would not have jobs as designers today. If everyone had figured it out already, we shouldn't have jobs. AI should do our jobs for us. But we're barely scratching the surface as designers. And just because an industry, a designer, a trend, an organization tells you how to do it, and this is the convention that you should use, say bullshit to that, because as a designer, your job is there to make things simpler, better, faster, smarter for people. So when you see conventions and someone in the meeting tells you, but guys, everyone else does it like this, that is your excuse to say, but we're going to do it better. The next thing is draw from the real world. As human beings, we've been doing this thing called interaction design for tens of thousands of years prior to the iPhone. It's called the real world. And there's so much that we can learn from the way that we interact in the real world. This is a mashup of artificialness and the most natural thing possible. It's an artificially intelligent-driven operating system we're working on right now, but we're trying to fuse it together with natural feeling interactions that make it so elegant and graceful and playful to interact with, because it mimics the real world, like unlocking the phone screen with a simple touch of your finger. Think in flows, not screens. We've covered this one already. Screens, templates, like we're not in the 90s anymore. Think about the experience, the flow you're going to take people on, because the technology we have in our pockets is more powerful than the first supercomputer. It can do amazing things. It's not the limitation. Number 5, less but better. Directly stolen from Dieter Rams. Directly stolen. But it's so true. If you can Fisher-Price something, as we say, like make it so simple that like a 5-year-old can understand it, you're giving people the agency to feel like they're superheroes because you've given them just really powerful, simple controls that have an amazing impact. Who's bought an engagement ring before? Yeah? Anyone tried to customize an engagement ring? It's super complicated to do today. This is a product that allows you to customize and create your own personal engagement ring, and it makes it feel so easy. How could it have been so complicated before? But I guarantee you it is. And the final case study, or the final learning that I think I have for you today is to fill it with life. If you put your life into what it is that you're designing, if you put your heart and soul, and if you are having fun when you're designing it, it means that those who are using your experiences are going to have fun too. So we have time for one more case study. Who's with me? Yeah? Let's do this. All right, here we go. So this is a kids' TV platform. And right now we're going to start with a typeface. Okay, cool typeface. What if we were to take that typeface and turn it into the identity, to the logo? All right. Well, let's add some color here for a second. Then what would it mean to start to infuse that with some energy and some life? Well, let's keep pushing, guys. Let's keep going. Playful characters created and then taken into the app iconography, the system iconography, and then finally through to the actual experience itself. This is Voot Kids. This is a kids' TV platform, and everything about this is designed to make you feel like you're full of life. As a parent, as a kid, this is what we should be designing, guys. Things that truly connect with people on that human level. Even stuff like the onboarding process is designed to embody so much of that brand. And when you get through to the actual experience itself, this is for kids. It's simple, it's playful. There are no words. It's just simple ways of navigating and finding the content that you want to watch. Then diving in to discover all of that content. And guys, this is the last lesson that I have for us. If it fills you with life when you're designing it, it's gonna fill those you're designing for with life when they experience it. Guys, thank you so much for your time.